Once upon a time in the mountains stood a serene temple surrounded by clouds. The temple, a place of peace and wisdom, attracted many who sought guidance. Among them was a young student, eager to learn the secrets of life. One morning, filled with curiosity, the student approached the temple's wise monk. "Master," the student began, bowing respectfully, "I seek the secret to happiness. Can you teach me?" The monk, with his kind eyes and gentle smile, nodded. "Come with me," he said. The monk led the student to the temple's garden. It was a breathtaking sight. Vivid flowers in every color of the rainbow, lush green plants, and the soft hum of bees and birds. The garden seemed alive, bursting with energy and beauty. The monk pointed to a single plant that stood apart from the others. Its leaves were drooping, its flowers faded, and its stem bent as if struggling to stay upright. "Look at this one," the monk said. The student frowned, puzzled. "But it's dying," the student said. "Why are you showing me this?" The monk knelt beside the plant, his fingers brushing gently against its fragile stem. "This plant is not here to bring sorrow. It is here to teach us gratitude." The student tilted their head in confusion. "Gratitude? For a dying plant? How can something so sad teach us happiness?" The monk smiled and gestured for the student to sit beside him. "This plant may seem weak now, but it once bloomed as beautifully as the others. It reminds us of life's cycle, the ups and downs, the seasons of growth and struggle, and in its struggle, it gives us a gift, the chance to appreciate what we often take for granted." The student remained unconvinced. How can hardship bring happiness? Wouldn't it be better if everything were perfect all the time? The monk shook his head gently. "Perfection is an illusion. Without struggle, how would we recognize joy? Without loss, how would we value what we have? Gratitude transforms pain into understanding. It shows us the beauty hidden in every moment, even the difficult ones." The student pondered this, glancing back at the withering plant. "So, you're saying challenges are good for us?" "Not good or bad," the monk replied. "They simply are. Challenges are part of life. What makes them meaningful is how we choose to respond. Gratitude helps us see beyond the pain and into the lesson it offers." The monk stood and motioned for the student to follow. They left the garden and walked along a narrow path winding through the mountains. The air was crisp, and the view stretched for miles, snow-capped peaks, dense forests, and rivers sparkling in the sunlight. As they walked, the monk pointed to a tree growing from the side of a rocky cliff. Its roots clung tightly to the stone, and its branches stretched toward the sky. "Look at that tree," the monk said. "It grows in such a difficult place, yet it thrives. It does not complain about the rock or wish to be somewhere else. Instead, it makes the most of its surroundings, finding strength where others might see only obstacles." The student stared at the tree, amazed by its resilience. "Are you saying we should be like the tree? Find strength in hard places?" "Yes," the monk said, "and be grateful for the chance to grow stronger. Every challenge is an opportunity to learn, to become more resilient, and to appreciate the beauty of life's struggles." They continued their walk until they reached a small stream. The water flowed gently over stones, creating a soothing sound. The monk knelt by the stream, scooping up water in his hands. "Life is like this stream," he said. "It flows no matter what lies in its path. Around rocks, over roots, always moving forward. When obstacles appear, it doesn't stop. It adapts." The student watched the water, feeling a sense of calm. "But isn't it hard to keep going when things feel impossible?" The monk nodded. "It can be, but that is where gratitude comes in. When you focus on what you have instead of what you lack, you find strength to keep moving. Gratitude is like the water. It flows, bringing life to everything it touches." After some time by the stream, the monk and the student began their walk back to the temple. The sun was starting to set, casting golden light over the mountains. The student was deep in thought, reflecting on the lessons they had just learned. As they approached the temple gates, the student turned to the monk. "Master, how do we practice gratitude when life feels overwhelming? It's easy to feel thankful in good times, but what about during hardship?" The monk paused, looking at the horizon. "Gratitude is not just for the good times," he said. "It is most powerful during hardship. When life feels overwhelming, take a moment to pause and look for even the smallest blessing. It might be the air you breathe, the kindness of a stranger, or the lessons you are learning. Gratitude doesn't erase pain, but it softens it, helping you see that even in darkness, there is light." "So it's like looking for the flowers in a field of weeds?" The monk smiled. "Exactly. The flowers are always there, but sometimes you have to search for them. Gratitude is the act of finding those flowers and appreciating them, no matter how many weeds surround them." Back at the temple, the monk invited the student to sit with him for tea. As they sipped the warm drink, the monk set his cup down and said, "Let me tell you a story." He began. "There was once a farmer who lived in a small village. One day, his only horse ran away. His neighbors came to comfort him, saying, 'How unlucky you are.' But the farmer simply said, 'Perhaps.' Days later, the horse returned, bringing with it several wild horses. The neighbors came again and said, 'How fortunate you are.' The farmer replied, 'Perhaps.' Soon after, the farmer's son tried to tame one of the wild horses, but fell and broke his leg. Again, the neighbors came, saying, 'How unlucky you are.' The farmer answered, 'Perhaps.' Finally, soldiers came to the village, recruiting young men for war. They passed over the farmer's son because of his injury. The neighbors said, 'How lucky you are.' And once again the farmer said, 'Perhaps.' The farmer's story shows us that we cannot always see the full picture. What seems like a misfortune today might lead to a blessing tomorrow. Gratitude helps us trust that each experience has its place in our journey." The student listened intently, realizing how often they had judged situations as good or bad without seeing the bigger picture. The monk stood and walked to a nearby window, looking out at the mountains. "Gratitude is not just a thought, it is a practice," he said. "Every day, take a moment to reflect on what you are thankful for. It can be something as simple as the sunlight on your face or the food on your plate. Over time, you will notice that gratitude changes how you see the world." The student followed the monk's gaze, taking in the beauty of the sunset. "But what if I forget to be grateful? What if I get lost in my struggles?" The monk turned to the student with a gentle smile. "It's okay to forget. We are all human, and life can be challenging. The key is to return to gratitude whenever you remember. It's like returning to the breath in meditation. No matter how many times you stray, you can always come back." As the evening deepened, the student felt a sense of peace they hadn't known before. They realized that gratitude wasn't about pretending everything was perfect. It was about finding value in every experience, even the difficult ones. The monk placed a hand on the student's shoulder. "Happiness is not something you find outside yourself. It is something you cultivate within, and gratitude is the soil where happiness grows." The student bowed deeply, filled with respect and appreciation. "Thank you, Master. I understand now. Gratitude is not just a feeling, it is a way of life." The monk nodded, his eyes twinkling. "Go now and practice. Let gratitude guide your heart, and you will discover the happiness you seek." The student left the monk's side, carrying the lesson into their daily life. They began to notice the little things, a kind word, a cool breeze, a moment of stillness. Each time they felt overwhelmed, they paused, remembered the monk's words, and looked for the flowers in the weeds. Over time, the student shared the lesson with others, helping them see the power of gratitude. They realized that the more they practiced, the more happiness they felt, and the more they inspired those around them. The power to change is within you. Watch this video dedicated to that lesson.